Hi, my name is Benedict. Welcome to episode 6 of Effective Music. This time we're finally looking at drums and rhythm. We're going to focus more on drums, but what you learn about the rhythm with drums will transfer across to everything else. I have deliberately kept them out of the game till now. It's important because there's a rookie error that so many people fall for and they get stuck. In that they start their piece, they absolutely fill the space that they've got, their empty sound hole, they fill it with drums and funky rhythms, and then they go, I can't go any further. And that's because they filled their cup with beer, and then they're still trying to pour more beer into the cup. It's like you can't get more beer in the cup without taking some out and working out how to balance beer versus suds versus the ability to keep things moving and going. Otherwise you've got a static cup full of beer and that's it, you're done for. Some smart ass will say, well, you drink the beer and then you pour more in, but that's not really how you make music. But there is a merit in that argument. But the problem with the make a loop get stuck is that they're not even considering that they could drink some of that beer to add something else into the space created. This is a different approach, but yes, rhythm is important. It's endemic to the way we compose, and it must be. You may have thought in the first episodes, where I'm showing like chord progressions, it's just like, and it's like there's kind of no rhythm there, but we add more rhythm as we go. Before we move further, I need to remember to ask for your support. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into these programs, including money that I spent on this learning myself. Please be sure, for your own sake, that you support this, because whatever you don't commit to in terms of dollars, etc., you will probably just ignore. If I charged a lot of money at the beginning of this program, I would probably have a lot more engagement from people who would be saying, I need to get my investment. The fact that it appears to be free means that people go, yeah, whatever. That's really on them. I wanted to do this just because I wanted to do this, but please make sure, add support, add value to this, make it worth something to you, pop over to my Ko-fi and show some return. All right, we're going to do a quick recap. This was a piece that I was working on in Effective Music 4, so we expanded this piece using variation. Now I've gone back over it in the in-between time just to add some of the bigger picture arrangement to make it work better. So what have I done? We had this which was pretty static. As you can see, it's largely lacking rhythm. We've added rhythm through the existing melody, which is great, but I find that rather static, so I've improved. No pretense as to whether this is good or bad. Remember, we should not be focusing on genre or good or bad, merely the understanding, and I'm trying to keep everything pretty obvious, which means that it won't seem cool. It's not meant to seem cool. It's meant to show you what it's doing. I also added an accordion line because I felt like as we got to this point here, because I decided to deem this the chorus, that it just wasn't very strong. It needs something to push it. And what better than an accordion to make your song uber cool. So, added, and it's no new material, just added on top, and because that's there, we need to make sense of it. The break was always a little, and it still is, really. So I've pushed the volume of the electric piano here, just to make it clear what I want you to focus on. And then strengthened this bit with the accordion, seeing it was there now. Our verse also is stronger with the accordion. So that's added more sense to what we're doing, and then gone and done the really important stuff, which is the intro. So it's got something interesting. It's got an accordion. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's a variation of what's going to come. So we've partially shown our wares and then a bit more directly shown our wares here. Again, is this cool? No, not meant to be. If you're thinking that I can't teach you anything because you don't like what I'm doing in terms of cool, then it means you've probably got a big brick wall here. That's your business, but let's not go there. Alrighty, and then of course we have to have an end. This end is pretty limp, but it obeys the rules. Though it dances around cadence, and we've got a little bit of flutter in the accordion. Twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. Righto. So new improved piece to be working around, and because it's got an arrangement and it works, then we can say, yeah, the piece is done. But it's missing some drive. Like as we move through here, yes, we've got our melody driving things. But it would be nice to have something that really emphasizes that. And that is rhythm. Most people think of rhythm as being drums and bass, but rhythm's in everything. The other problem that a lot of people have is that they think it's formulas. It's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right. Bring your knees in tight and you do the pelvic thrust. The reality is that rhythms are a lot more than formulas. While there are certain kind of formulas that come out of location and history and what have you, being something that came in through techno out of disco, it doesn't mean that that's where you should start. And again, that's where a lot of people go wrong. Rhythm is the pulse of the music. It's the pulse of this piece of music. If we listen here, this has a pulse. And you should be able to feel that without going, because this is what makes this piece unique compared to something else. So it's important to be able to feel that. Rhythm is the pulse of this piece. Another piece will have a different pulse. I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. That's the rhythm or the pulse of that piece. A lot of times people are funny about that because they go, but that's not cool. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. That's your poison. And when done poorly, like my cover of Kiss, it does sound twee. But that's the pulse of the piece. How you choose to embellish it and build that, that's up to you. Kiss obviously did a super job because we all know that song and it's really good. Quite simply, we just want to be able to work out where the strong part of the pulse is and where the off part of the pulse is. And again, this is where people go to formula and they'll just go, but it's the and the that's it. But that's a formula. What if it doesn't apply here? What if it really doesn't fit? Then we'd have made a mistake and we'd have weakened our piece, even though we liked the boom, boom, boom of the 909s on the 4. I'm going to show you a method here which is not going to be exactly 4 on the floor to be able to make what we can consider a complex flowing rhythm, which you might choose to add a 4 on the floor underneath, but once you understand this, you can write whatever you want. If you stick with the, oh, well, I just put the formula of 4 on the floor, then you're going to find that you have some real difficulties embellishing even that method. So we want to work out what it is. So we step back first and just sort of say, okay, where does groove come from? Groove initially in music, if we're going to step back to just basic theory, we've got in our door, we're working at 4/4, which means we've got 4 beats in the bar. So that actually has a groove. People tend to go, it's not, it's just like doof, 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 doof. There's no groove in that. That's not how 4/4 is counted. 4/4 actually has a very definite groove. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So very strong, weak, partially strong, weak. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it's doing this all the time. 2/4, left, right. It still has a strong left, right. Because we mostly, when we walk, tend to lead with our left foot. I don't think many people walk the other way. Maybe they do, but most people will lead, they put the left foot forward first. So it's left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And so we've got, you see, this rocking thing. 3/4, or waltz time, is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you try to dance a triplet or a 3/4 time as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I've seen people do it because I used to dance and I try and help people learn, and there are some people who are completely resistant to the rhythm or the groove, the true rhythm of that, is that they end up out of step. Because there's no sense of where's the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 helps you know where 1's going to be. So there's very good reason behind why this is, and just the endemic fact that as humans, when our heart goes padam padam, it's boom boom, boom boom, boom boom. It's not going boom 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 boom. It's going boom boom, boom boom. So everything in nature actually works on a... So we just got to work out how we're going to replicate that and express that through our piece. So 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then there's another one which is a triplet, where you have 3 notes in the space of 2. It's quite commonly used. Country relies on it a lot. Rock has used it a lot. We don't see it too often in EDM, except for in Psy. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a inside the more solid 4/4 timing. So see how they all work on a strong, weak, or some kind of variation thereof. Really understand that, and then see how this is happening here. Now, where we choose to put our notes, and which notes we put where, have a big impact on rhythm. So even if we have no level inside our notes, if we're using our synthesizers with no velocity whatsoever, as I did in the early days because I didn't have it, then we can choose what notes we put where. So what is going to feel strongest? Well, obviously the root note. Seeing we're in C major, the strongest note in our C major key is C. That's nowhere near as strong. Seeing we've established, then that is like, ooh. So ideally, we're going to want to have the strongest note on the strongest beat of the bar. So if we're in 4/4, as we probably are, and we're starting, we probably want to start with our C. Our 2 could be anything. We want a half strong on our 3. Hear how that feels stronger? And then we want a strong again on our 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really take some time to practice this, because where people count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, they wonder why their music doesn't start to funkify, to groove, to be cool. It's because they're counting flat and they haven't got a rhythm, and it's wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you've got a rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See, that actually has a rhythm. Really important. Get this. If you avoid that, you are going to struggle. So the role of drums and bass in music is not necessarily what people think it is. Again, EDM and modern thinking has ruined this completely, which is a total crying, screaming shame. The role of drums and bass is to show and enhance natural rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, tss, cha, tss. Boom, tss, cha, tss. Or boom, cha, boom, cha. Strong and weak. It's how you set that up. Double time, half time, whatever. This is really important. So your drums and your bass should be showing and enhancing the natural rhythm. Let's look at and feel how we're showing and enhancing natural rhythm in here. So our bass is very much reinforcing the one here. And our melody is tending to do that too. So it's working, it's happening. We have a natural rhythm here already. Natural rhythm is not just what somebody said good EDM should sound like. That's forced rhythm, that's a formula. So it's saying that you can only ever jump to the left and step to the right and bring the knees in tight and do the pelvic thrust. And while that's super cool, there's only so many times that you want to hear and do the time warp before you go, can we please do the nutbush? So we want to follow the natural rhythm to emphasize that. If we don't show and emphasize the natural rhythm of the piece, then it's all the same. Every single thing is the same. Why would they choose the nutbush over the time warp? Or why would they choose I Was Made for Lovin' You over a Total Eclipse of the Heart? These variations, while you may think all rock sounds the same, because it's all like, there's big variations. If you don't have those variations, why is somebody going to choose you over somebody else? It's what you've got to do. So find the natural rhythm of your piece, not by forcing it on, and that's by following the natural rhythm of the melodies that you've got. And then the second part of the role of drums and bass is to embellish. So we can take our natural rhythm, and look what our bass is doing. It is tending to, let's just make this very tight. Look, there's that. Oh, that's on a 4, but it's helping to embellish. So at the moment, while the bass is really just playing 1, 1, 1, there's also a 4 in here. And that's embellishing the rhythm overall. So they're the two real functions that we have with our drums and bass. Now let's look at the things that people tend to do when they start to bring in drums. There's a certain amount of tongue-in-cheekness in this, but at the same time there isn't. There's a big warning in this. The first common thing that people do these days is to bring in audio loops, and you get this kind of thing. Has that really improved the piece? Now, I know some people can be, yeah, because now it sounds like Public Enemy or whatever, or now it sounds proper. But listen to the piece, its natural rhythm, and what we've glued on top of it. While there's some relationship, the relationship that's with the natural rhythm and the loop that we've just jammed on top of it, they are broken. While there can be some coolth or value in doing that, and there was in the early sort of remix days, it wears thin pretty fast, especially bearing in mind we broke the natural rhythm of the piece rather than worked with it. So you will see endless things, and there are memes online about people doing this, of constantly swapping loops, trying to find one that fits. So we'll go, oh, well, you know, what about this one? Will this be better? Oh no, well, that's not cool. Well, let's go with this one because it's called Gangster. It must be better. Again, it's just completely not related to the piece. There's no connection between the music and the drum loop. So what we're doing is we're just forcing in drum loops that we think are cool rather than honouring the piece. It's an absurdity. That doesn't mean that we can't get value out of loops, but we've got to be super careful. This is a little better, but still there's a disconnect between the music and the beat. This is better fitted, but it still sounds like a drum loop that's been put behind some music. And it makes everything sound worse. It feels worse because they are what's called delaminated, as in they're not like this. And so you do a whole lot of trying to process and trying to mix it and force them together, which just won't really work out. It's not to say you can't find value in loops, but chances are you just won't. Also, you've got no control over those loops. Even if they are Rex loops, you've got very little control. So please don't see it as the shortcut to getting cool. It's the shortcut to making a mistake. If you understand how to do the stuff that I'm going to show you, then you can start to get value out of knowing how to choose loops rather than just applying them randomly until you get too tired and end up going, oh, that's cool. Or how to actually make the most and embellish and use the loops that you've got to make them do the things your piece really needs. The other thing that people will do increasingly is essentially MIDI loops. And often they come out of another thing like an easy drummer type situation. And let me tell you, they can't be good. This seems okay to start with because it's a bit better suited to the tempo of our piece, but then WTF on these rolls. And then we move to the second one. It's like, and while on its own it may sound very cool, it's just broken the piece. It's poor drumming. Not because of whoever made the loop, but because drumming must, remember, show and enhance the natural rhythm and then embellish it. This does none of that. It actually squashes it. So what we really need to be doing is going, let's not do this at all. I'm going to leave those drum loops there for the moment. Now let's look at how do we really do drums the way that a good drummer, and I don't just mean someone who can play fast blast beats, I mean a good drummer, how would they do this? Old school drumming. So let's make sure that this is not hidden behind my head. I'm going to start with finding the natural rhythm. Now the most obvious thing in this should be the melody. So let's go to melody. Great. Now, seeing we have a reasonable door, we can also open this up and see where our notes are. It's a very simple melody. So if we were to just mark that out, so I've been using other software, so it's feel a little funny. So I've got a kick here. I'm supposed to have that one solid. Kick here. So we're marking all of these. Is that really working? Well, we can say yes, but we've also got no. Remember, rhythm is supposed to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, or a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or a boom, 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 boom. So it's not a boom, 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 with everything being the same, which is what we've got here. So one thing that we can do, obviously, is we can take our velocity and change that a little bit. So say, okay, I've got more important beats and less important beats. And remember, beat is not a backing piece of music. Beat means we're in 4/4, so a 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beat, 4 beat, 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beat, 4 beat. That is a beat here. That period of time is a beat. So what have we got now? We've changed our velocity levels. Okay, that's helped because we've now improved, or we're working more with our natural rhythm of our piece. So we are showing and enhancing our natural rhythm in our piece. But we do also have a little bit of a problem in the sense that we've only got the one sound. Now, every sound has what we'll call weight. We think of as kick drums as having the ultimate weight. Or maybe an 808 bass sound has the ultimate weight. It's pretty stupid. But yes, it is big, it is bassy as such, and it's low down. It actually takes up a lot of the frequency spectrum, to be quite honest, and then we've got other types of sounds. So the second most common sound that we will hear used, obviously, is a snare. So what if we do this? This now makes a lot more sense. Great. What, however, if we change a couple of these? The ones that are on the 4, they are not strongish beat, they need to be a little bit less. Hear how that's now more interesting. We're starting to get into not only showing and enhancing, but we're starting to get into embellishing to some extent, even though we've not moved anything. Now, this doesn't mean that you should be taking all of your notes and putting a hit on them. I can just see somebody doing that. They've got a super busy melody that's playing on 16ths or something silly, maybe because they think their arpeggio is a melody, and have just jammed something on that. And that's not the wise way of going. I mean, to give you a sense of what's going to happen, it's going to sound like, and we've all seen this happen, where somebody does something, well, naive like this. Now suddenly our thing has delaminated. Remember, like with those drum loops, they just really didn't feel like they fit the piece at all. We've delaminated our rhythm. So as you start, think very carefully. Does this enhance or show and enhance my natural rhythm in my piece? If not, get rid of it, start again. So that's given us our basics here. Let's expand this a little bit more just to give ourselves a bit more time. So we will copy this. I will always start writing my drums with 1 or 2 bars, normally 2 bars. Expand this a little bit more. Now there should be a feel of wanting something extra here. Remember, this is now variation. Either is doable. That's better. Let's try one of these here as well. It's too close. Let's try them here. Now we're keeping these quiet. These are embellishments. Yes, to me, that works. This is adding a little bit more to the natural rhythm that we have in our piece. Let's go a little further. Let's put in a hi-hat here. I feel like I might want them there, so let's see what we get with. Okay, this is good. This is working. Let's just make these a little quieter. I always feel like hi-hats are way too loud. But in rock, a hi-hat does tend to be pretty forward. But let's just step aside for a moment because I'm concerned that it's going to queer what I'm doing. Hats make them less. I like these, the Gorin grooves. Thank you, Gorin. That's a little bit better. So let's kill him again. And let's just copy that across to there again. Let's see what happens if we do this. Cool. Let's take this out of solo. Notice how this makes perfect sense with the piece. We might even consider using, see what happens if we use an open. Now I'm going to copy this. Again, this is variations. So variations that you learn with your notes are exactly what we're going to do here too. Let's put a little bit there. Now we're going to look at the other important instrument at this point, which has its own rhythmic stuff, which is this set of chords. So if we open this guy and hook ourselves into the chords as well. What is happening in here? So if we get into here, just so we can see, there is a possibility of something here. Is it worth using? Don't know. Let's see. What have we got? Let's try the hand claps just to see. Now, I don't like it there, but I don't dislike it. So I'm thinking, what if we put it here? Might have gone a little quiet. I lost it. I ended up with the wrong sound. See how it's unexpected, and so rather than it being same, boring, ho-hum, let's turn it off, we've now got a little bit more movement. Again, I'm just going to copy these because we want variation. Lack of variation, which is a real problem when you use loops, whether it's MIDI or whatever, we've got to look at, okay, what else can I put in here? I'm using that open, I've got that extra note, but what about this one here? Let's see what a ride's going to sound like there. Let's try. Let's put him there, and again, let's see what happens. Now, we know this is the end of a section. Okay, it's the end of this bit here. So we really need to consider, how do I let the user know, the listener, know that this is the end of this? And yes, they are a user, especially if they're a dancer, they are trying to use this music to do the dance thing. So we need to move things around a little bit. Let's start with our existing rhythm. Right. There's something here that I feel like I want this to be different. What if we go with it? So we're using a crash now, because there is a little thing here. So let's make the most of that. It's possibly a tiny bit heavy-handed. Let's just pull him back a little bit. So now I have what I can say is, I'm going to join them up. So that's my fundamental loop. I can copy it to the next section, and let's see what happens. But I think it'd be nice to have a little bit more of something going on. What if we go... Or if we pull this to... Okay, it just gives a little bit more movement. Let's try him again. I like that. So we got the side and the open hat. Should be playable. Yeah, be playable. But it gives this side a zing. So it's unexpected. Again with the zing. Too tight. What if we put one under here? People aren't going to notice it, but at the same time they're going to feel it. Let's take a copy of him. It's just because there's something a little bit bell pattern in here. So we suddenly break into this little Latin rhythm there. So it needs something to sort of finish it. Let's try this. Yeah, that finishes it fairly nicely. Now this is a end of a second section, so we probably need to be thinking about expanding our we wouldn't be playing that. That's the end of the rhythms section, so let's just... Oh. Remember, we're really working now with our existing natural rhythm, and the piece feels stronger for it. Floats a bit, uncentered. We've centered this, and now we've made this strong. And so that's great. That's our verses. But notice how I've kept creating variety. Because if it's same, it's going to feel flat, and then you're going to think, oh, well, it feels flat because it's a mixing issue. And then you'll do all kinds of weird over-processing, and it probably won't ever work out. So now we need to move to our chorus. So what will we do with this? We probably want to grow a little bit here. Just keeping an eye on time. So what's okay, so it's a counter melody that's we're really working against here. It's just marking where our movement is. I've marked weight, but only with level. Remember, weight can also be emphasized with the tone color. So obviously that's more powerful than this, which is more powerful than this. But then this can be more powerful if we not only give it plenty of level, but plenty of weight, as in lots of chords. This is dominant over this. So we work out which sounds are going to be important here. Just looking at that, okay, that's nice and simple. It fits well. Let's make sure it fits with the second half. While it technically doesn't, it still fits really well because we've established that, and it then creates a nice point and balance for the doo-doo-doo, the extra little bit that comes in here. So this has helped the issue that we did have with coming into our chorus being less now, do, 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 do is super easy to sing. That's probably the thing that people are going to walk away with now. Do, 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 do. Easy to sing, so we've helped emphasize that. Now we can perhaps do some more to help emphasize that without kind of weakening it. So I'm going to join those. Notice how I'm always joining these and saying these are, so I've got a little pattern and then a bigger version of that pattern. So they're the same for the moment, but because the melodic rhythm is slightly different, they create a sense of variation. So what else have I got? I've got, let's try a hand clap there. We would assume the hand clappers are different from the drummer, so we can probably go with something a little different there. I might pull this back. I think it's probably just too loud. It's probably a mixing issue. And that's cool. Remember I started this little sort of Latin type rhythm? What if we make more of that? I'm freestyling. I actually would never have planned this, but I dig it. So I'm actually going to say, why don't we make a clapping pattern. But that hand clapping is just too loud. Now I am really weak on my Latin rhythms, so if it's poor, that's because I am poor at this. But nonetheless, let's... Now it seems wrong, it's become rhythm. Alright, so I've copied too much because I didn't establish my actual rhythm. So let's pull this right back. Now it stands a chance of working a bit better. Now this seems to be relatively important in this situation. The difficulty I have is, how do we stop this? It's easy to say, well, it should continue the whole way through, but I think it then loses all its effectiveness. Now, maybe that is just a volume thing. And I've got to say, it's very hard to get the levels down. Bear in mind, I'm in headphones where everything sounds the same. Alright, we'll say that works for the moment. We could use... that one, I think. Now let's copy this. I'm still not 100% convinced, and it's a thing I would take extreme care with myself. But let's grab these guys and move them. Let's try this. I don't dislike it, so let's find that clap again. There. I'm just going to pop the claps in where these shaker aren't. Of course, the tambourine says really mechanical and rigid. So it allows me to carry that, but to move it a little bit. The claps do get lost. What if I move them to an off beat? No. That's what I'm going to do. Do both. clapping patterns in there. I might find that here and just increase its level because it's getting lost. I don't want it to be strong, but see, we're using this now. People are going to be, oh, that's the clapping song. We want to do something here to make this stronger. That works well enough for me. It's very simple. And that's basically what we would do. I can copy the verse. I can copy the, let's just turn it into 1. And I can copy my chorus off to there. In the real world, I would want to go into those and make some kind of adjustments so that they're not exactly the same. Because while it is super easy to do what I just did, it's kind of suicidal because, again, it just leads to that loop, loop, stop. Boring. So make sure you've got variation, either by writing a new pattern or by varying this pattern in some way, but not by just layering more shit on top. If I had it, some kind of nice shaker. I know there's a shaker in there, but one of the problems with these MIDI things is that they can be... But that's where you've got to learn to use MIDI and to learn to use on and off beats. So you can use your off beats to emphasize your on beats and to put things slightly out of time, put things into a groove. If we look at grooves here, and I were to take, and this is probably going to come off going just a little bit funny, if I take my groovifier, and each DAW will do this differently, then this is listening to global shuffle. I will actually, just to make sure that they all follow this one, otherwise it is going to probably crash and burn pretty fast. Should have planned ahead on this one. May even just... So this is shuffle, and what shuffle does is it takes each second instance of whatever the shuffle pattern or rhythm is and move it. Straight. See how that's now grooving a lot more than it did. That sounds horribly flat. Let's put it back in the piece. Flat. And it just moves that a little bit better. So we're going to go with that. We're going to keep that. And it is enhancing my... It's more noticeable just on things where they're really close together because I'm mostly working on eighths here, not on sixteenths, and this is swinging the sixteenths. It would be nice for the DAWs to have more flexibility on what we swing, but it can be done in reason. But that's where you've just got to work out your DAW and decide what you want to swing. But the swing here is improving the piece without making it sound too poor. It makes it sound better for what it is, which is essentially a squeezebox ethnic band kind of a situation in its own weird way. Now, we've also then just got to look at this break. What are we going to do with that? We can try taking our... Well, that's a pretty odd sense of timing there, isn't it? But it's not cool. But what does work fairly nicely, and I figured it would, I'm going to say let's get rid of the kick and snare. Bye-bye. Gone. And let's even look at, where was it? It was 2 bars. So let's chop him there. And that's going to therefore be there. I'll kill him for the moment. Let's look at inverting these, at least just for this first bit. Now, what I might consider doing here is actually getting rid of these for at least the first round of it. So let's see what happens. Obviously we need that onto the right beat. And then this gets a little untidy because it doesn't fit with the rest of the rhythm. So all existing time elements, just getting rid of things that don't really help and moving things around so that they make sense, like the hi-hat here is about to come in, so let's just... So let's just think, well, what's this going to need? My swing might be just a little too aggressive for that. But no. We're still using that sort of clapping pattern. All of it. Okay, that is unexpected. So that's cool. Where was that shaker? Go back. It seems to be on that one there. That's what they're telling me, but that's not right. Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, it is actually. Let's just move his velocity back a little so that they're not same, because when you use same, it sounds very drum machiney. But let's expand our pattern here. I think I need to zoom in here because I'm off where I want it to be. There. No wonder they sounded funny. Let's go with the open hi-hat. And I'm actually going to close it, but relatively invisibly, I think. Well, maybe I want that to be less excitable than this. Let's reduce his level. We've now got a set of drums that really match the piece and enhance the rhythm of the piece. Now let's look at something else. I'm not going to cover the intro because it should be reasonably self-evident from here. But if we do this approach, you will always have drums which work with your piece. Maybe a bit heavy. The accordion. Now obviously with this one, with the accordion getting louder, I would be going and finding where's it gone? Here. Let's just zoom the whole thing in. So I just want all of those ones. Let's ramp them up because we want people to be even more engaged now. And the same with these guys. Let's pull them up. So in this final chorus, you want the old ladies in black to be standing there clapping, whilst the young girls are wiggling. It probably came on too loud, but you get the point. Might even consider having the claps and the shaker tamburini thing to be going at the same time, but we need to get in and spend some time rewriting it. If you're not prepared to spend the time, you got to question your commitment to the form. So we've now got something that is nice, folk bandy kind of thing. Again, I'm not caring whether you think it's cool or not, but now we've got the beginning of something that we could say, okay, I'm going to work this up genre-wise, and we work our way to it and find out what it is rather than going, because that goes wrong. But remember, just by adding this, we've now given it another flavour. why hip-hop belongs in this, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, you can do this and just transition. But again, if we take this ad, it's really not that special. The music itself has become delaminated. It's something to justify playing that drum loop. Homework. Obviously, I should not need to say this. Hopefully, you will have taken pieces that you've started to construct from the earlier versions of the earlier episodes, put them into chord progressions, melodies, and variations thereof to give yourself an arrangement that we can turn into what we'll simply call verse, chorus, break, verse, chorus kind of situation, whatever arrangement you want for that piece that actually has an intro and an ending. If it doesn't have an intro and an ending, it's nothing, throw it in the bin, start again. Or just quite simply create an intro and an ending, because it's not complete until it has an intro and an ending. So have an arrangement, and now you can start to take your melody, and then if you've got main chords or something like that, but start with your melody and create rhythm, so that if we just take our drums and our melody, see how well that works. And we know that that is solid. We've now given our melody so much more power and oomph because it's backed by our rhythm section. Do that. And it's not going to happen instantly. But also think in terms of weight. See how I'm choosing different parts of the drum kit, wherever they are, to put in different places, because the weight of that sound changes how it comes in. You saw it at the beginning, so start by doing what I did, which is taking your melody, a little slice of your melody, and just going doof, doof, doof on each of them, and then start balancing the weight with the velocity or level of each of the doofs, and then move two different instruments within your drum kit. Now, your drum kit, I don't entirely love working with these kinds of drum kits. I think they are complex. But another thing you can do is to take a synth, create a drum-ish sound. Let go of the idea of it's got to sound like 909s, and just create a drum-ish sound. So it's a selection of pops just across the one synth. So you're just going to use maybe a sine wave and a bit of noise and some filtering and enveloping to get this percussive sound that sounds brighter up top and a little bit more doofy down the bottom. You might EQ it just to bring out the tone of the kick, which you're probably going to have on C1, your snare maybe on C3, and you're just going to use those pops and say, where do I want the feel of this to be? So between velocity and using the weight, the brightness, or lack thereof, of that sound to create a cool rhythm from that. That's exactly what Kraftwerk did. And then you've got this really cool sort of thing, and then you can start to say, okay, what if I now put my 909s around that? And you're going to end up with a cool thing. All right, of course. Any questions? Down below. Please don't email me your questions directly unless you're looking to hire me. It's not cool for me to have to say, are you hiring me? And then to have to listen to you go, that's not cool, man. And it's like, no, if you want to ask a public question about a public program, then please ask it in public down there. If you're too afraid to be seen as being imperfect, well, I'm sorry. I really am. You're not going to make it. If you want to make it in this business, it is tough, really tough. And if you don't have the courage to get there, I'm sorry, that is okay. That's up to you. You're a gamer. That's fine. Nothing against that. But you can't play with the big boys if you're not prepared to actually ask your questions. It's a really, really big divide there between those who go off and become Lemmy and those we never hear of again. And it's nothing to do with talent, let me tell you. It's just to do with the size of your ability to not make a dick of yourself by going, oh, well, I can't let anybody see me as being anything less than the most pro. Look what I'm presenting here. This is not the most pro sounding pieces of music. But that's not the point. It's about understanding what the music's about. So questions down below, or if you want them to be semi-private, then join my group, the Indie Musicians Guide group. There is a link there. That's a little bit more private, but nonetheless, get over that, whatever that issue is. Oh, and again, of course, please, so much power in what's being learned here. Support me through either hiring me to help you get there directly, as in direct one-on-one training, or working as your record producer or mix engineer. Failing that, go over to Ko-fi and give me some value in return. That's your investment in this program. That's your investment in yourself. By parting with that, however many dollars you're going to choose to part with, then you're saying that's what this information is worth to me. Not to me. You're saying that's what this information is worth to yourself. Because if you say, oh, it's not worth anything, guess what? That's your commitment to it is nothing. If you put, I used to put $60 a week into learning some of this sort of stuff. Do I still think about it? Do I still go, what happened when teacher guy went, yeah, because it's bloody $60 a week. And I was committed to that, and I've gotten huge value of that. If you look at what happened to my music pre and post, you'd be like, yeah, I can't remember how many weeks I went. It might have been 10 weeks roughly. That's $600. I sunk into some guy who, on a week-to-week basis, it was easy to think, oh, I didn't get much from that. But then I listened to pieces that I'd done, and it'd be like, I could never have done that before. $600 was a steal for me. Alrighty, you have a great day practicing this.